Yes. Sorry, I was about to chat to you on like the text, which didn't seem to make any sense. Sorry, I'm just checking things are working. I don't know what I'm doing half the time. So yeah, post-gig analysis was the idea. Very sort of plain and simple. I'm just back from the gig in Norwich, and it went all right. It went all right. And it occurred to me that I'd like to share my thoughts on that, but then I don't really have the time. Don't have the time to do it tomorrow particularly, and then I'll forget, and then it will move on. So I thought, oh, sod it, let's just turn the mic on and the camera on and do a bit of a live stream to myself, I suppose, by way of creating an instant YouTube video rather than all that editing and cutting and post-production that I feel I need to do for some unknown reason. So here I am live, yes, doing it. So all I really wanted to do was to just talk about my experience of what just happened. I absolutely took no footage of it whatsoever, or any photos or anything, but I remember last time I did a video afterwards which I found was really cathartic and really helpful for myself, and of course probably for millions of people out there in TV land. So while the experience is still fresh, while I'm still thinking about it, I thought I would just talk through what was good, what was bad, what worked, what didn't, those sorts of things, so that we can all learn, so that I can learn, so I can remember what it was that I was supposed to be learning from last time, and did I implement that, and did that work, and that sort of stuff. So here we are. So if you have not been following me up to now, I've just been to an open mic electronic night at Gringo's in Norwich, Prince of Wales Road. It's the second of these events. I went to the first one in November, I think it was. So this is the second one, and it's great. It's an opportunity to come together, to perform, to bring some electronic noises, and just make some music. You know, you get like a 10 to 20 minute slot and you just do your thing. And tonight was great. The quality was really excellent. Everyone was good. There's some real stuff going on. There was some laptop stuff with controllers and circuits, but there was also very synthy stuff, guy with Electrive and MS-20, and some modular stuff going on. There was Bob was there with a little just modular thing which made an absolutely sublime noise, and he was on just before me, and it was, I don't know, say it's really annoying. It wasn't really annoying at all. It was lovely. It was only annoying because I was sitting there going, wow, so why aren't I doing something like that? Because that would be awesome. Because what I had worked up this week was some kind of techno thing. But that's what came out, you know. You have to start from somewhere and then finish somewhere, and that was my journey this week. So it was a great night, a very interesting mix of people and things. You know, there weren't hundreds of people there at all. It was just a bunch of people having a bit of a go, and I really hope that this continues. I really hope that it catches on and people start coming along and checking it out, because it's a really interesting thing. Very good, very worthwhile. Feels good, man. Feels good to have done that and taken part. And so yeah. So, oh really? That soon? So why just get another battery Let's oh, there we go. That's unexpectedly quick for that one, but never mind. I got another one here. Such an old pro at this these days. I can just, it's the last thing I have that runs on batteries. Everything else is wired in these days. But sometimes batteries are useful, you know. Sometimes they are. So what was I saying? Yeah, so last time, just to recap, the difficulties that I had was, first of all, having the modular face the audience. The other problem I had was I couldn't see and I couldn't hear. And I was hot and flustered. And nothing worked or sounded like it did at home. So that was my experience from last time. This time, what I did to change things. First of all, I sat the modular down on the table, facing the crowd at a slight angle, at a jaunty angle, you could say. So that was that first thing I really wanted to do, because it instantly created interest. People going, oh wow, what's that? You know, look at that. What's that? The other thing was I took the whole lot. Last time I only took 2 rows, but this time, as I was developing the track, the patch for tonight, it was just getting slightly big, and I realised I'm not going to be able to get it down into 2 rows, at which point I then started adding more stuff. So I thought, sod it, 3 rows, let's go for it. So I had this whole thing sitting there, as it is now, and that's good, I think. I think that's a really positive thing, to have that facing the crowd. And then the next thing I decided to do was to try to demystify it a bit. So when I was introduced, which is fine, so far everybody else is, you know, introduced them, off they go. But I thought, no, sod it, I'm going to talk. I'm going to explain what it is that I'm going to do. And that was really good for a number of reasons. First of all, it explained what I was going to do so that people didn't assume it was just some background music and I'm behind a desk going, and nobody knew that I started or not. It highlighted the fact that this was going about to make music and I was about to make music with it. So that was good. So it brought the spotlight on me, of course, and on the machine, and that was good. I was also able to explain, or if you like, get the excuses in early, that it was going to be mostly improvised. And I think it's interesting to say that I've been, you know, working on this patch all week. I've been putting things together. It's a system of modules where you decide on pathways and the way things are going to work together, and you put that together, and then the gig itself is like the destination for that. That's what everything has been leading up to, that moment at the gig, and then the next day it'll all be gone. It'll never be performed again. So it's an individual performance designed specifically for that night, and this is what's going to happen. I'm going to give it a go, and there you are. And I thought that was a really worthwhile way of introducing it, and it seemed to really gather people in. So people say, what's he talking about? Oh right, yeah, that's interesting. And so obviously it was bigging it up to the point that they were going to be massively disappointed once I started making noises. But that's by the by. The point is to gather people round and involve them in the experience. But of course, once I put the microphone down, I then turned my back to the audience and stood in front of it so no one could actually see anyway. Well, I think people could see a bit. I mean, I shuffled around from side to side in the hope that people could see what was going on, but they could at the very least witness me attempting to do something. And that I thought was interesting, and a better way of doing it. I felt more involved with the audience. I felt more connected, although also facing away. I had no idea whether they'd all just left and gone to the pub next door or not. I had no clue. So the plan was just to get in there and do my thing. Just do that. But I think definitely turning it around was a good idea. Also, the lighting was much better. It wasn't dimly lit, and the desk was higher that it was on, and all those things meant that I could see what was going on much easier, much better, much clearer. Although I took a light with me, funnily enough, just in case, because it's no good. You can't operate it. I can't operate it in the dark. I have to be able to see, because I don't remember how everything is connected up. So I need to follow cables sometimes. I need to look at things. I need to see where knobs are, stuff like that. Weird thing that happened was my fingers would cramp up. I don't know whether I was so tense or it was so cold. Something, I don't know. I'm just trying to get in there to turn a knob, and my fingers cramp up. Weird, very weird. So yeah, on a whole, in that case, the whole presentation of what I did was far superior to the first time, and I will do that next time. I mean, one of the reasons why I went down that avenue of getting a case in order to build some modular into here is to use it live, so you can stand it up and show it to people and play with it, or lie it down and do that. Because I mean, Bob, the guy before me, his was lying down flat on the table, and that was great. Although you couldn't see exactly what he was doing, you could connect with the fact he was doing something. You know, so that was good. That was really very positive. The difficulty is that the difficulty for me is that it just doesn't sound the same. I mean, I just had this on a second ago. See, that's lovely. It's really, really nice. Didn't sound anything like that in the pub. I mean, this is how I started it off. And it just doesn't sound the same. So you're immediately sort of thrown into a mild panic. You're not too much of a panic, just going, oh, it just sounds, I don't know, it's all a bit fuzzy. Is it over loud? Oh, I don't know. So, you know. Sorry, just glance at the comments. Someone suggested pointing a camera at the ring and put it up on a screen. Yeah, that's cool, but not on an open mic, because there's no time for that sort of thing. I think that's a good idea, because I think the machine is interesting. I think that is always part of... Sorry, we'll turn that down in case you can't hear me. I think that's always should be part of the performance. I think if you're not getting any of that, then there's a disconnect somehow. Because, like it or not, although this is a bit of an instrument, I'm not playing it like an instrument. I am playing it like an instrument, but I'm really not. And some of the creativity, some of the awesomeness is actually in the machine. And the machine should be part of the performance, if that makes sense. I'm not just going to stick it in a corner and forget about it and stand at the front with a keytar. Although I could do that, but that seems disrespectful to the machine. I should probably call it something. But yeah, a little camera and a screen if you were doing something a bit more either longer or more permanent, then I think that's a great idea. I think you should definitely do that. I mean, I've been flipping out. I've been umming and ahhing over GoPro Heroes since version 5. Is now on version 7, I think, GoPros. I mean, I don't know if anyone's got an experience out there with GoPros and whether they're a good thing to use. I mean, because this thing that we're looking at here is a fairly posh Canon EOS 70D, you know, as a proper SLR camera, which is great, but it's not the sort of thing I really want to take on a gig, and it's too heavy usually to hang in places. But the problem or the issue I have with GoPros is the wide angle lens business, and the fact it makes everything roundy. But they still seem like a really good idea, a real simple way of getting another camera into the action, which can be on a clip. So if anyone has experience of using those with Modular in particular, then let me know whether you think that's a good idea or not, because they seem awesome. If I'm on a bicycle on top of a skateboard hanging off the side of a mountain, they seem excellent in my canoe. But looking at this, I don't know. So I get such a great picture with this camera that I'm worried about getting anything else which would not be as good, if you know what I mean. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, so any experience out there, do let me know. So, where was I? So yeah, the sound was very, very different, and that again was the main difficulty, because I'd taken quite a complex patch. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. I'll give you a quick burst. Well, let me take you through it. I mean, I'm not going to bring... no, all right, just very quickly then. Very, very quickly. I had Let's mute all this out. I had at the top. See, why can't you hear that? Because I've turned everything down. Because I faded things out at the end, I think. Okay, that's not triggering. Is that not triggering? Because this is there. That should trigger. That's there. Oh, it's down. There we go, the volume control. That's always a good one, I find. No, I've all broken it. There we go. Okay, should have that coming through. So I had some pluck. This is 2HP pluck. Didn't sound like this. It sounded different because I'll get to that in a minute. Right, so I had a pluck going on, which is going through a delay, which is quite nice. Turn that off. I had this bass line going on. Which was being sequenced at the same time as having its filter cut off, sequenced by the same sequence. Because I'm like immensely clever. Then I had this drone, which then I also turned into a bit of that. Then back into a drone again. The graphic VCO, I got the graphic VCO to do something, which was a little bit of obviously morphing between wavetables because that's kind of what a wavetable thing does. So I did that, and again I gave that a little bit of rhythm as well at times. Channel 6 was blank. Then I had the kick and the snare, the kick and hi-hat going on. See what I mean? It was techno, man. And then I had this percussion going on here. Which also had a bit of bassimilus in it as well, but I seem to have broken that. Like that. Oh, I know the reason for that. The reason that it's no longer there is because channel 3 on the variegate doesn't seem to hold on to what you last told it to do. So because I've remembered how to save things, I have to recall it like so. There we go. And it's back. I don't know why the variegate has decided to do that. So those were my elements, and on their own like that sounds quite nice, and well, you can put it all together if you try hard enough. Oh yeah. So, you know, that was the plan. I mean, the reason that I came up with that patch really was because I decided on Monday that I'm going to work out how the variegate 4 Plus, how it becomes a drum machine, because I hadn't done that before. I've really primarily used it as a sequencer, so I've used it with CV and gate, because it CVs and gates. But to use it as a 4-channel gate sequencer in order to run some drums, and that's what I did. And so that's how I started, and that's how the patch came about from designing this pattern, which, you know, it's not exactly genius. But from there I then built everything else out around it, so that's where it came from, I suppose. But very different to what I did last time, and that's okay. That's okay. So what am I saying? So what went wrong in particular? Well, I mean, first of all, just to underline that it went generally all right. It went pretty all right. What went wrong was that during making the patch, I spent a lot of time trying to get the 2HP pluck to be loud enough. It was always couldn't hear it, everything else was too loud, and so I ended up having to put most things through some kind of mixing module in order to turn them down to allow the 2HP pluck to sit up a little bit so you could hear it. Now, of course, so what happens is I'm a couple of minutes in and I'm just using the bass line and the drones, and then I've got the drums coming in. I've done that for a bit and I want to do a complete drop. So I'm going to replace the drums with the pluck. And when I do that, you know, I'm going from a doom, 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 and I'm expecting it to go doom, doom, doom into a lovely thing, and it goes, and it's like the resonant body within the pluck has just gone wob, wob, and it's built up this feedback through the delay that it's going through, and it was just like this. Oh, it's like uncontrollable. And it was supposed to be like going from a techno bit to a really sweet bit, when instead it went from a techno bit to a really kind of bit. I mean, I had the same experience last time with the Bassimilus, but this time it's with the pluck. Lordy, lordy. So ultimately, even though I went to great pains to create a balance here in the studio, the balance didn't really translate to the gig. So I was having to fiddle and fight with that as well. And also the melody of the bass line, which I no longer have, unfortunately, just for some reason didn't seem right. It seemed right here, it didn't seem right there. Couldn't quite get that to work as well as I thought. So when I was sort of given a 3-minute warning, I just decided, sod it, I'm just going to mess the melody about. And funny enough, when I did, it got a lot better. So I had this fantastic ending where I had everything going pretty much. Out, and I was just fiddling with this. So I did a bit of that. Something like that. And so it finished really lovely. I was really pleased with that. But that was after 15 minutes of farting around all over the place. But I mean, on the whole, it was good. On the whole, it was good. Yeah, I felt really pleased with it, I have to say. It was just, it was a struggle. I mean, it's a live situation and it's never going to, I don't think it's going to flow quite exactly how you want it to. I mean, I've lost hours in the shed this week just playing with this patch. You know, and it's been immensely enjoyable. And then actually at your gig, it's a different thing. It's a different vibe, a different feel. But it went off. It went all right. People clapped and cheered and stuff and said how nice it was afterwards. I mean, isn't that ultimately all we want? I suppose. So yeah, that was that. But another thing that struck me is that before me, as I say, Bob had his little modular, and that was just simple and beautiful and sublime. Then later on, a guy just had, I think, a Korg mini-log. Might have been the other one, a monologue. I think it was a mini-log. And a drum machine, I think. And he just did some simple stuff. And I thought that was really nice as well. Why was mine so complex? And also, why did I feel I had to keep changing it? It's one of those things. I mean, I sit here in the shed and can have the same thing going over and over again, and that's fine. And yet I don't feel I can do that in a gig situation because I feel it would be boring. I don't know. Something that I'm wrestling with, I think. Anyway, there's half a dozen or so people, nice people, watching and commenting. So let me ask. No, not let me ask. Let me just have a quick read, just to see if there's anything to answer, and then I'll finish my beer and go home. I mean, I am home, thankfully. So give me one sec. Oh, nice people, lovely. Thank you so much. Nice of you to be here. Surprise, Robin is the best Robin. Oh, God bless you. God bless you. Hello, California. Yeah, gooseneck lights. Yeah, not a bad idea. I mean, as I say, I took one of my... I mean, these are great, these lights. You can't see any of them, and I'm not going to take it apart right now. Anyway, just little lights, LED lights, they seem to do the job. I put muslin over them in order to diffuse it a bit, and that seems to have worked. That's greatly enhanced my whole videography type experience thing. Not great big box lights that people have. These are little great things. Have been very, very useful. I enjoy them tremendously. Finger cramps, probably nerves, probably, or a lack of bacon. I find. You inspired me to delve into Iraq about a year ago. Cool, you're now 904 deep. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry, Scotto of Oakland. I didn't mean it. I was just joking about the whole thing. Fisheye, that was the word I was looking for. Local technique, thank you. Yes, a bit fisheye. Although I understand that they've got anti-parallax or something now that sorts that out. I don't really know what I'm talking about. Logitech webcam. Yeah, I mean, I do have one of those in the drawer, but I'm kind of trying to keep it a bit in the HD kind of place. Yeah, 9U case, man. See, I don't know. Oh, I just daren't. I mean, did you hear I've been talking about buying normal synthesizers? I think that's because... although I made a purchase. Did anybody notice that? I bought a precision adder, and I have no idea why. Some nice person commented on my other video about it, saying... what was it he said? That, oh, if I got a precision adder, right, I could then change or transpose the sequence. Brilliant. What a great idea. I thought, because I've found, I mean, I've decided I might have to do some videos on this, but I've found that with utilities as a whole, I don't have any idea why I would need any of them. And then someone suggests something to me, like, if you had one of these, you could do this. And suddenly, bing, that makes me understand. I go, oh, right, yeah, I could do that. I'll get one. Things like, I've got a sequential switch. I wouldn't have had any idea why I needed to get that. Until I was banging on about the fact that I can't change chords. I can't change anything. I can't swap from one thing to another. And so someone said, you should get one of these. So I did. And it's fabulous. It does exactly that. Although every time I come to use it, I can't remember how to use it. I always get it upside down and backwards. And it's kind of like a logic puzzle you've got to work out. A clock divider as well was the other thing. So these are things that you don't have on your, I'm going to buy a Eurorack list. I'm going to buy a clock divider, a precision adder, and a sequential switch. No, you tend to go for oscillators and filters and things that make some kind of sense. So with the precision adder, I had it turned up today, so I had 5 minutes to work out, is this going to be of any use to me whatsoever? And actually it was, because what I did is I had room in my rack, although I had too much for 2 rows that I was hoping to take, so I ended up having 3 rows. So I had a bit of room, so I stuck the other lattice in, and I thought, well, I could run another little sequence in here and change the sequence on the baseline. Change not the sequence, change the sequence on the filter on the baseline. And so I was considering, taking a cable out and putting a cable in, old school. And then it occurred to me, well, I could do that with a precision adder, I think. Because I don't really know what it does. So I ended up, let's turn that bit back on. So at the moment, the filter is being affected by the same sequence that's playing the notes. But then I can switch this round. And I'm now playing it from the lattice here, going in a 4 thing. And that I can switch it back. But if I do it quick enough, I can do it in one hit. Now that's not what a precision adder is for, but it's what I could use it for. But you can also combine those two sequences, add them together, I suppose. So it's sort of do them together, I think. Anyway, there you go. So that was fun. So what was I talking about? Yeah, so utilities and bits like that. So I think I'd like to do some videos on those kinds of bits of stuff. Like do a whole hour video on what a molt is. That would be exciting. But no, there are other utilities which I think are blindingly useful and difficult to grasp or come across, I think, when you're starting out in Eurorack. Oh, so yeah, I was reading comments. Let's do a bit more of that. Now, Jamis Inns, I'm very disappointed that your message was retracted. But never mind. What are we drinking? Oh, Shipwreck. It's kind of my favourite. I guess it's a lager. I mean, it's sad, really. I never saw myself as a lager drinker. But generally speaking, I just want something kind of light and bit and refreshing. So an IPA or a lager, I think, generally seems to work for me. I'm sorry, everyone. I used to be into your real ales. Yeah, heavily a bitter man, Spitfire man, you know, but oh, anyway, who cares? I don't care. So I'm drinking some Shipwreck, which is Hatherwood craft beer, otherwise done by Lidl, really. Thinking maybe headphones for monitoring. Yeah, I mean, I think that creates a disconnect again. I did take a pair of earbuds with me, actually, which enabled me to plug myself into my own system and just make sure everything was where it was supposed to be. Because there's things I can't work out. I can't work out how to save the microscale as it is. I can't work it out. And every time I did look into how to save again, and when I followed the instructions to save, I just ended up loading something else. So I'm finding that a bit annoying at the moment. So I just have to remember which notes it is I pressed. And yeah, and that brings me to another thing. I was having this conversation with Bob afterwards, was about sequencers and how they shouldn't have anything to do with pitch. was what we thought, and that made me think. It was interesting because sequencers take us down tend to take us down a very narrow road. They take us down a road of melody, of course, of melody. And as I've been working on this patch this week, I've been slightly frustrated that I've only got one sequence. The reason I've only got one sequence is because I only have one quantizer. Because a sequencer tends, if you're looking for musical content, tends to take you towards a quantizer. Now, a quantizer can, of course, be useful for restraining things to notes, but it's also useful because it will only play the notes on the quantizer. That's what I like about the microscale. I can turn on 4 notes, which is what I've got at the moment, and it will only play those 4 notes. It'll play it in different registers and bits and pieces, but only those 4 notes. And that's actually more useful to me than keeping it in equal temperament or keeping it in a certain scale. I just like to be able to control those sorts of notes. But anyway, so what I mean is in trying to introduce more than one sequence into the patch, I would kind of need another quantizer, because once you've quantized one to pitch, you're going to have to quantize everything, and you know, trying to tune the drones to the pitch, trying to other bits and pieces. And so this conversation was purely just about that actually you want to use other things. You want to forget about trying to get the right pitch and let pitch occur. Because before I had a sequencer, because I had a whole row or so before I had a sequencer, you know, pitches were just emerging. They would come from using the maths, you'd come from using the Batumi and just messing stuff about, and pitches would occur. You wouldn't need to sequence them, they would just generate. And in some ways, as soon as you start looking at a sequencer, it takes you away from that kind of discovery, which is fine. But it's good to remember that a sequencer isn't necessarily always going to be your starting point, and doesn't need to be. And maybe you need to take things out of your rig in order to release yourself into another area. Does that make sense? So that was interesting. So in some ways I need another quantizer, or like I'd like a posh one from Instruo or something like that that's got 4 channels of quantization going on to create chords and chordal textures, or at least to keep everything together. At the same time I need to release everything from that. Notice a disting is missing. No, the disting's right here. Funnily enough, I was using that as a delay, and then I thought I could use that as a quantizer for a second sequence. See, that's where I was heading, but that was like yesterday, last night, quite late, and then this morning, I think. And it was that point that I realised I'm going to have to take 3 rows, so I was able to squeeze the Eventide in. So I thought, sod it, I'll use the Eventide. It's a flipping delay. Let's use that as a delay rather than using the disting as a delay. So I used the Eventide as a delay, and I, you know, thought really hard to remember how to use the bugger. And so I thought, okay, I can use the disting as a quantizer, but I never did. I sort of ran out of time in doing anything with that. Besides, the quantizing features of the disting are just in keys, in scales rather. They're not, you know, they're not notes as such like the microscale is. At least I think so. But you know, what do I know? What do I know? Volume is perfect. Oh, was it good? Great. Some time ago. Is it getting late? Yes. Okay. So it mustn't run on for too long. A compressor? Ooh, what? Like audio processing and stuff? Could be. Could be. Where did I go? Tom, it's Robin. Robin Vincent. I mean, oh, never mind, it doesn't matter. Have you recovered from NAM yet? God, crazy. Crazy times. I don't know what I did to these comments, but I've missed. Okay, got to that bit. Flashing lights. Yeah, vapor rub. Vapor rub? Was that what we were talking about? I don't know. Like the blur between modular and synths. Yeah? Yeah, patching. Yeah, no, over tweaking. Was I over tweaking? I mean, I only really fiddled with the filter knob, but I did. Well, I was conscious of leaving things for too long, and I need to get over that. Well, I need to. I mean, one of my takeaways from this evening is I need to simplify. I mean, the fact that I am hopefully going to build a travel case with some stuff in, there's going to be less in there in the first place. So simplifying is good, I think. And so hopefully that will stop me from fiddling a little bit too much. It's like when you watch something beautiful like the Annie Instagram videos or YouTube videos. You know, you've got 5 minutes of just a machine playing, and then every now and again a hand will come in and go beep, and that's it. Yeah, I've got to be more patient, but at the same time you kind of want to look like you're doing something, and you want variation. You want everything. Want it to sound great. Want it to sound, you know, I don't know. It's good thoughts. It's good thoughts. Hi from Australia. Hey. Justin, you played your first modular gig last Saturday. Well done. 40 minutes. Well done. Filling 40 minutes. Did people stay around for the whole 40 minutes? Did you get 5 minutes in and wonder everybody had gone? Well done. USB powered LED lights. But I don't have USB on my system. There's no USB. So powering it by USB, how would that be helpful? Unless they charge by USB and therefore just battery powered, if that's what you mean. Anyway. Mylar Melodies has a video on precision adding and multiple switching. Well, of course he does. Of course he does. But you have to understand that if I watch other people's videos, I will get educated and it will ruin my whole angle. Because my whole angle is enthusiastic idiot. No, enthusiastic novice. Enthusiastic genius? No. Have I got any enthusiasm? Yeah, so I should learn about these things. But I find, I mean, the way that I work is that when I've decided to make a video on something, I then make it my mission to learn about it, to discover it, to uncover it. And it's in that I learn about it, through the doing. I do watch other people's videos and check those things out and open up manuals and, you know, blah, blah, blah. But it's ultimately in the trying to explain it to somebody is that I learn it. That's how that happens. That's how that transaction happens. That's why these videos exist, because ultimately, if I don't make a video about it, I'm not actually going to spend the time to learn anything, and I'll just watch telly and eat pizza. So this interaction is actually two-way. If it wasn't for you people out there, I wouldn't be learning anything and enjoying any of this. And Mylar Melodies is here. That's funny. Anyway, so that was good. Transpositions, yeah. Complex, yeah. But do I want complex or do I not want complex? Do I want complex? Do I want simplicity? Is there simplicity in the complexity? Is it in the transposition or is it in the changing of the pitch? I don't know. See, because what you don't know is, because you know how much of a lightweight I am in that I drink a single beer during a 2-hour live stream. Well, I had one at the gig, of course, didn't I? So I'm now 2 beers in, which is dangerous territory. Anyway, I will keep moving through before I go to bed. What, the disting has a precision adder? Well, of course it does. It has flipping everything, but I can't work out how to change the algorithm, so I'm never going to find it. Go push that button. Is it flashing? I don't know. What does it say? Oh, it's rolling. I can't read it. It's going too fast. I don't know. Yeah, distings, man. Can you imagine having a rack of those? It would just drive you bonkers. I mean, incredibly useful module. Absolutely. I've used it for at least 3 things, I think. But incredibly useful because I didn't have those things. But not by choice. Not by choice. Move your hands more slowly. Yeah. Yes. Or you just want to post it on there. Say, stop doing it. Or, you know, hands off, that kind of thing. So every time you look up, oh, right, no, put your hands back down again. Or walk off, get a beer and come back. But then, you know, you feel like you're cheating the audience because the audience expects action. They expect to be entertained, perhaps. Or do they? Depends on your audience, I guess. I mean, my assumption about the audience is that they have no interest in what I'm doing whatsoever and are only there because they're supporting somebody else. They're a mate of somebody else who's doing something later that they do like. So from that point of view, I guess... Okay, so what that's saying to me is that ultimately I'm trying to sound like somebody else because I think that's what other people want to hear. Yeah? Ah... Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Trust the audience. Yeah. Oh, wow. Now there's a leap. But the beauty about this evening, if you didn't catch this, I think I might have mentioned it earlier, is because I set up my rig facing the audience, which I thought was genius. And I spoke to the audience. And then I started things off. I then turned my back on the audience and completely covered my rack with myself. So I had no idea how the audience were feeling about any of it. They could have been nodding along. I don't know. Okay. Am I excited about BitWig 3's modular features? Yes, I am. But yes and no, because modular for me is very much in the physicality of it. Because it's like things like Reactor, Orderless, Max for Live, all that sort of stuff has never really grasped me. I find it a faff and a pain, and I just want another preset, please. Thank you very much. I have never found VCV rack the same, soft tube modular the same, the other one, voltage modular, all good, yeah, okay, but I don't get that visceral thrill. The fleshiness of it is not there. So doing modular in software, I find, is, at least so far, is not something that I necessarily look to do or enjoy doing. I can see it and stuff and appreciate it, but it's in this. It's in this. This is what it. This thing. This is different. It's different. However, Bitwig 3, yes, looks excellent. Very excited about that, and I like the idea in my head of being able to translate what I've learnt in modular synthesis to that kind of environment. Yeah, that excites me. So maybe now I can come back to software and I won't be quite so clueless, because I mean, I always find in those sorts of modular environments on the computer is that I sit there for 20 minutes with no sound, and then I sit there for another 10 with a single tone. And it's like, oh, and then I get bored and go somewhere else. Yeah, no, I see. Funny enough, I don't necessarily agree that they make boring videos modular. I think it's fascinating because of flashing lights. Flashing lights are always fascinating. I like that aspect myself, but you know, is there a utility or function in a sequencer that can lengthen a gate? Yes, if your sequencer has gate length. Is there? No, it's a good question. It's a better question than you think, actually, because not all sequencers necessarily have a gate. For instance, my lattice here is purely just CV out. There's no gate involved, so I'm using gates from elsewhere, and I would probably use gates, or I am using gates. I'm not using any gates, am I? I got no gate on that baseline at all. No, it's just playing the whole time. It's always going. Of course, if I, what did I turn? How do I? What did? Although I know not now why it is not making any sound. I got that. So why is that? Did I? Oh, there we go. So simply, I'm not using a gate on that at all. It's just playing. It's playing a tune. But I might take gates from Random Rhythm, but they're very, very small. So would you use those to trigger an envelope, and the envelope could potentially give you gate length. Does that make sense? Am I thinking like a modular person now, where I'm actually understanding things? Is that possible? Whereas the Varigate 4 here does have gate length, but I'm using it purely for percussion in this particular instance, and so the gate length is irrelevant. You're just triggering. So yeah, I mean, but sort of posh sequencers like the Stepper Acid or something like that, I think has gate length built into it. Things like that. So it's often a part of that piece of hardware. Otherwise, you can use an envelope to do that sort of thing. But it'd have to. But if you were trying to do different gate lengths on different notes, then you'll have to work quite hard, I imagine, to make that happen. Da da da. Da, 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 da. Do you need my maths? Do I need more VCAs? Well, no, since having the... Oh, damn it, I can't work out. Sorry. Because I insist on using touch on my surface here, because it's a surface, it just sometimes the comments just go whew, jump, and I lose exactly where I was. And when I was answering a question, now I can't remember what it was. And there's lots of them, and I don't want to miss everything, although this is going on a bit now. So I will definitely shut this down by midnight, okay? So, yeah, 7 minutes, saw that, cider, something to do with that. Very true. Oh yeah, do I need my maths? Yes, I use it all the time. Only for a couple of functions. I use it as an envelope, and I use it as a level of control voltage sometimes, because the mute on here, got this mute on from Steady State Fate, which is excellent, but it has no gain level control. It's like you got it's a VCA, 8-channel VCA, which is awesome, which means I can plug 8 things into it, because before that I just had Veils, which is a 4-channel VCA, which is great, but I can only hear 4 things at a time if I want to, to use that. That's not anywhere near enough VCAs. But the Veils has volume knobs on it, so you can turn these up and down. Whereas the Mouton does not. So everything just comes through at the same volume, unless you poke something into the CV in order to control it. And so I use the maths to do that. Channels 2 and 3, things like that, I think. So yeah, it's a useful thing. And also I like the looping envelope type thing. I like to be able to LFO that. But because I've been doing things quite structured in melody and percussion, I tend to have it triggered as an envelope normally. So I'm not doing the more exploratory stuff which you do with the math at the moment, but I will do. It's definitely earned its place right in the middle of my rack. If there's a smaller thing that did the same thing, I'd quite happily have it. I'm not wedded to the idea of it being a make noise maths. It's just very useful. And I'm not using, like I say, any part of it that I probably should be. Like, I don't think I've ever added anything up. I don't know. Am I going to Super Booth? I don't know. Probably not. But I don't know at the moment. If I can get away with going for a day like I did not last year, the year before, then I will see if I can do that. We'll see. Over tweaking, yeah, definitely. Okay. Any chance I can load one of my live gigs to the channel? I don't know, because I'm doing the thing as opposed to being the person stepping outside filming it. So, if somebody wanted to come along and do that, that'd be great. But I'm sure it would sound awful. Much rather do a gig here, and I do post, music videos and bits and pieces up every now and again. There was one I did when I had this patch earlier in the week. I stuck a video up a couple of days ago, I think it was. You can check that out. It's changed now, of course. I stuck the graphic VCO in since then and messed around with another sequencer and added the Basimilus. So yeah, it changed quite a bit. I used 2 disc things side by side. You're nuts. How could you possibly know which one is doing what? And how do you get your cables to stay in? I mean, I usually use blue tack. Okay. You should play because you like it, not the audience. No, I'm here to serve the audience. It's all about taking them, surely, on a journey to a new place, to a new experience that they haven't been before. Because otherwise, if it's all about me, doesn't that sound rather selfish, rather self-abusive? In which case, I could do that in the shed. Why do it in front of an audience if it's just about me? There has to be a reason why. There's some kind of transaction taking place. There's some kind of a give and a take and a reward and a carrot and a stick. Those sorts of things. Has to be. No, I mean, I've been performing for years and guitars and singing and stuff, and so that's definitely part of it, that connection. And I am monumentally embarrassed usually when trying to perform with Modular, because I'm not confident enough to go, yeah, I'm just making some awesome music here. I am at a stage where I'm going, I think this is all right. I daren't look at anybody, because they're not going to be looking at me. They're going to be chatting to their mate or on their phone, which will indicate to me that what I'm doing is a bit crap. I'm at that sort of stage at the moment. So yeah, anyway. Hey Thomas Angelbo Christians, sorry, I got that wrong. Christensen. Cool, you're welcome. Yeah, no, definitely. Everyone keeps telling me to get the flipping ES8. ES8, that's all I hear. ES8, ES8. Yeah, yeah, I know that's the answer, except it's not the answer for a very specific reason. If I plug in the ES8 into my Surface, I lose the ability to play guitar or sing or anything else because my entire audio engine is suddenly taken up by routing audio and CV into and out of my rack, which is fine, but I do more than that. And my audio interface requires more than that. So I would love a DC coupled audio interface. You know, I've got designs for one in my head. I'm just not a developer or a manufacturer. But it would be a nice thing to have, and I could appreciate that. Although I don't... Or do I? Yes, I do on occasion. But so, yes, I should have the S8. But it's expensive, man. It's expensive for something that I won't use very often. So I can appreciate it. I wish they did a cheaper, simpler 4-channel one. Or I wish somebody did. You know, that would be great. I could just switch in and out every now and again. Anyway, so yes, of course I need an ES8. But no, I'm not going to get one at the moment. Right, I think I might have got to the bottom of this nonsense. Okay, that'll do. Great. All right. So it is coming up to... Yeah, indeed, Jim. They're not cheap. They're not cheap. Yeah, STO's great. I'm enjoying my STO, although it didn't feature in this particular patch. So it's 5 minutes to midnight, almost a couple of minutes to midnight. So I will bid you good night. Busy day tomorrow, as all days are. So it seems, and I'll play you out with my patch before I pull it apart. So thanks very much for stopping by. That's great. That was the post-gig analysis. I hope to have another one next time that happens, whenever that would be. And take it easy. Let's twiddle. So let's do it like I did before. You hate it when you hit the mute button, and it doesn't really matter. I have this problem with the mute on in that I'm always hitting the button that I think I'm like going, I'm just leaning on the button ready to go, boom, and I'm actually muted something else rather than unmuted the thing I was trying to unmute. But I can try that again now. Ready? Here we go. That's midnight. Let's call it a night, I think. Thank you for watching. I've been Robin Vincent, I suppose, on Molten Modular. I'll see you again soon.